Yeah, Representative Subeck, I know you were next on the list.
Thank you very much. So I was trying, as you were going through your presentation, to listen to the presentation, but also look at the report that you just handed us. Certainly it was hard to be handed a report. And one of the things you didn't do, it's not hard to be handed a report, it's hard to be handed a report.
What's the last part?
I'm sorry, I was saying it was hard to be handed a report moments before our opportunity to ask questions about that report. So bear with me if some of the answers are actually in there and I haven't seen them yet.
My time is literally yours.
Sure. So, but before I get into the recommendations, I had a question about something that you actually said in your presentation. You did indicate you were editorializing just a moment ago, and I think that's probably a good description. But you mentioned that you don't have a dog in this fight, and those were your words.
No.
What's interesting is that you went through this list of folks who were involved in different ways with the grants or other things, and tried to connect them through their past up to how they might have partisan leanings. And most people have partisan leanings of some sort, right? We all can acknowledge that. I guess that I could very easily do the same for you. You know, I could go back up and look at when you were a Republican DA appointed by a Republican governor,
Actually,
right?
I was an independent
appointed by a Republican governor.
I was not a member of either party.
Okay,
At the
but
time.
you were appointed by a Republican governor.
I was.
So, you know, I could
Tommy.
take that, I could look at who funded your Supreme Court campaigns, who spent money in those,
Yes.
make ties there. Certainly, I can make ties to the fact that you went to Serb Hall and spoke at a Trump rally immediately after the election results came out and were quoted as saying, I
disagree with that characterization, Representative.
Okay.
The way that I was told about it, I just sort of showed up that day. I was told that it was a public event, and this was a few days after the election, expressing concern over the conduct of the election. I did not know, and I don't believe necessarily that it, but anyway, did I support, if you're asking, did Mike Gableman, private citizen, vote for Donald Trump? I'll tell you, I'll violate the sanctity of the ballot box. You bet I did.
Sure, and I probably could have made that assumption. What I wanted to share with you is your quote, actually, from that event in which you said, and you were quoted, and I believe there's video actually of this as well, I don't think anyone would be here if we all had confidence this was an honest election.
Yep.
So the reason I bring that up is you just did this whole sort of boogeyman scenario of this person once upon a time, right? I mean, Vicky Selko, for example, I remember when she was at legal action.
Can we please get to one question? I really
Sure.
want to respond to a question.
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to.
So what do you want me to...
But so you said I don't have a dog in this fight.
Yes.
And here you were at a rally saying that this wasn't an honest election.
No, read your quote again, please.
Okay, saying that, talking about confidence in an honest election, right?
Read your quote again, please.
I'd be happy to read it. I don't think anyone would be here if we all had confidence this was an honest election.
Right, and as a prosecutor, as a DA, I didn't prosecute anybody who I didn't think was guilty. I have concerns. I'm honest and upfront about it, Ms. Subeck, Representative Subeck. I'm not like the people that I just talked about who pretend to be. I have doubts. I had doubts, and obviously from today, nothing, I would say nothing that anybody said, but nobody said anything to me because they're all fighting me in court. I still have significant doubts. Yes, I had doubts from the get-go based on my observations and, frankly, my experiences working over 24 hours at Central Count in Milwaukee. I had some quite startling, that was the first time I had ever been a poll worker, and I believe it ought to be a requirement. Democrats and Republicans, if you're an elected official, you should have to serve as a poll worker at least once per term, because then you'll understand how weird.
And I've served as a poll worker many times in the past here in the city of Madison.
I said everybody represented.
Yes, no, and I was
Thank you for your service.
I was going to agree with you
Thank you.
that it's a very good experience because you see all of the checks and balances and all of the security measures in place. Anyway, my point was, I don't think it's a fair characterization that you have no dog in this fight. I do believe there were some foregone conclusions.
Okay.
But I want to get to your
recommendation. Please respond to that. You are
Sure.
questioning my integrity, and I must respond.
Fair enough.
I have been involved and supportive of campaigns, and no one ever talks about the financial contributions I gave to Democrats when I was younger. I have been involved with political campaigns where people have won and people have lost. Never before did I take a look at all of the facts and circumstances and say, gee, I have real questions. So in other words, I think most of our fellow citizens, I think all of us, every reasonable person, can accept a loss. Okay? But when they have doubts about the way it was run, now that is separate. That is separate from saying, no, I want to continue the campaign through some kind of legislative or judicial or court. I know it's been done, obviously. Mm-hmm. I don't have to do that, Representative Subeck. My career is mostly, I don't have to do that.
Sure.
I don't have to do it, and I didn't do it.
Sure.
And I'm coming in here, and one of the reasons why it took so long, Representative, I don't want all of the people watching or listening, I don't want them to take Mike Gableman's word for it. I want to present to them, and in the report, I believe I do present, and in the next few days as I respond to Representative Spreitzer's request for information and produce all of the records that went into formulating, as I promised at the first committee hearing, which I've missed you up until now, but
Sorry, things get scheduled, multiple committees and all sorts of things at the same times, and so.
and I missed you
sometimes
when you
we
made that
can't.
appointment and no one was at your office. I missed you there where I waited for half an hour.
I didn't have an appointment on my
11 o'clock,
calendar,
yes,
Mr. Gableman.
You did, Representative Subeck. But anyway,
Wasn't on
I
my
missed you,
calendar.
but now absence makes the heart grow fonder, and here we are.
Sure.
I told this committee at my first appearance, someone asked me, I don't remember who, they said, are you subject to open records? And I said, no, I'm an investigation, and I believe I am exempt from the normal public records or open records requests. I'm entitled to that. That was all of my conversations with the speaker, is that I was not going to be a bureaucrat or a government functionary, but in fact, I was going to conduct an investigation. But I did say, in response to whoever asked the question, I said, but at the end of this process, what I will deliver is every single record that went into the conclusions that I make. So nobody has to take my word for it. They can check all of the supporting documents, and then they can judge for themselves.
All right.
Okay?
And I hope that you will open that up not only to the records from which you drew conclusions, but to the entire record of the investigation and every record that you obtained, because in order to draw conclusions, people need to see the whole picture. So I'm hopeful that that's what you mean when you say that. Will you be making all of those records available?
I've just indicated to you what my plan is.
Okay. Well, that didn't quite answer the question. That's like,
Okay,
I would love
happy
to
to say it again.
No, I heard what
am
you
going to
I heard what you
produce
said.
all of the records that went into the supporting of my conclusions, so that, not selectively as you are taking, as you are so
Mr.
working
Gableman, you
so-
chose
no,
your
I'm
words very
Representative-
carefully.
Representative,
Wait,
let him
the
finish.
reason I just want to
Do
clarify
you
my
have the
question.
ability to let him finish?
I would
We are
like-
not going to just go back. If you have a question, we will go back and forth.
Okay, I'd
I'm
like to
trying
clarify my question, because I think he's giving me this, he's repeating what he said, which didn't answer my question. I was hoping to clarify. When you say
I know
that
what
went
your
into
question is.
supporting my conclusions, does that include anything that might run contrary to your
okay.
conclusions?
Now this is why I'm still a little irritated by your first question about the dog. Not your question. I will stay here all day and answer questions. That's my job.
Okay.
And that is your right and obligation, just as my right and obligation on behalf of the legislature to conduct my investigation. But what I won't do, I have no ulterior motive in conducting this investigation other than maybe one final act of public service. And I mean that.
Fair enough.
I have asked to speak with all the members of this committee, Democrats and Republicans, and we had an appointment. I'm not trying. I want everybody to know. I can't hide it. What purpose would it serve for me to deliver a bunch of one-sided documents if on the most superficial review, or even after months of review, as I'm sure a lot of the people I mentioned will do, will say, well, he only provided us the stuff that was favorable. I've been saying from the get-go, Representative, that my integrity in this matter, my motives, my purpose of public service, which I have dedicated my career to. You said a little bit about your career. I spent a career in public service. As a DA, you might be interested to know, I took cases to trial that many other prosecutors would not, because I knew it was in the best interest of justice and the individual. I'm doing the same thing here, and I want to be judged not on the fact that Tommy Thompson appointed me, even though I was an independent at that time, not a Republican or a Democrat. I want to be judged on the quality of my work. And in order to do that, I have to show people what I relied on. If there's a disconnect, well, then I have no credibility. And then this whole exercise has been pointless. Do I look or sound to you like a man who wants to do a pointless or illegitimate exercise? You may say illegitimate because you don't like the whole thing. I'm not in this for anything other than the truth. And you'll see that.
All right, well, I look forward to seeing those records, and as I said, I hope it includes all of the records. Just not trying
Next
to
question,
impugn your
Representative.
integrity,
Next
but
question.
I hope it includes everything. So getting